Hello everyone. Hello. Oh. My patate. Hi. Mine. Damn it. I can't take the patate. Whee! Woohoo! Ay. Bad luck, yeah, missed that heart. Bad luck. There's another patate, Lemon. Try to get it. Try to get it. You can't take your own patate. So yeah. Nice, Lemon. But you got the patate. So today we are gonna finish chapter 3, and we are gonna go on with chapter 4 as well.
Can you do that?
See, I fixed it almost.
Ooh, do you hear that, lads? He says we'll blunt the knives.
Blunt the knives, bend the forks, smash the bottles and burn the corks, chip the glasses and crack the
There we go.
plates. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates. Cut the cloth, twiddle the hat, leave the hood on the bedroom mat, pour the milk on the pantry floor. Splash the wine on every door, dunk across the boiling bowl, pound them up with a pumpkin bowl.
Come on, everyone, dance.
Send them down the hall for roll. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates.
Okay, thank you, everything.
Here's here.
Yay! It worked. Whoop whoop. I worked hard on getting those things to have to work, because for some reason the video and the sound goes in two different outputs or inputs. So I need to have two different outputs to put them out. So yeah. I heard it. Did anyone else hear it? It should come out. But I think we have some ads. Did you hear it, Mr. Thard? Earthling, did you hear it? Okay, thank you. Thank you for telling me. Hmm. 2 seconds. Interesting. Huh. Let's see, I'm gonna try to trigger it. It is because it doesn't show anywhere. 2 seconds, I need to figure out where it comes in. Hi, Penguin! So now you get a lot of them. I just think it's too... It might just be too low for you guys to hear it. Filters. There. Gain. Okay, let's see. Nothing? Yeah, I need to fix that for next time. Yeah, you can. There we go. And is the music fine? Hopefully the music is fine. Nice. Good. Good. Bear! Hi! The precious little chair is here. But yeah. Yeah, she is. I put her in today because I thought, why shouldn't she be here? I actually think it's pretty cozy. But yeah, we are at page 106 at the moment. There we go. Much better. Thanks, Bear. I appreciate that. And as usual, we will take our breaks when they're needed. Thank you, Mr. Thard. I appreciate that. Be careful, friends, cried Gildor, laughing. Speak no secrets. Here is a scholar in the ancient tongue. Bilbo was a good master. Hail, elf friend, he said, bowing to Frodo. Come now with your friends and join our company. You had best walk in the middle so you do not stray. You may be wary before we halt. Why? Where are you going? Asked Frodo. For tonight, we go to the woods on the hills above Woodhall. It is some miles, but you shall have rest at the end of it, and it will shorten your journey tomorrow. They now marched on again in silence, and passed like shadows and faint lights. For elves, even more than hobbits, could walk when they wished, without a sound or footfall. Pippin began to feel sleepy and staggered once or twice, but each time a tall elf at his side put out his arm and saved him from a fall. Sam walked along at Frodo's side, as if in a dream, with an expression on his face half of fear and half of astonished joy. The woods on either side became denser. The trees were now younger and thicker, and as the lane went lower, running down into a fold of the hills, there were many deep breaks of hazel on the rising slopes at either hand. At last the elves turned aside from the path. A green ride lay almost unseen through the thickets on the right, and this they followed as it wound away back up the wooded slopes onto the top of the shoulder of the hills that stood out into the lower land of the river valley. Suddenly they came out of the shadow of the trees, and before them lay a wide space of grass, grey under the night. On three sides the woods pressed upon it, but eastwards the ground fell steeply, and the tops of the dark trees growing at the bottom of the slope were below their feet. Beyond, the lowlands lay dim and flat under the stars. Nearer at hand, a few lights twinkled in the village of Woodhall. The elves sat on the grass and spoke together in soft voices. They seemed to take no further notice of the hobbits. Frodo and his companions wrapped themselves in cloaks and blankets, and drowsiness stole over them. The night grew on, and the lights in the valley went out. Pippin fell asleep, pillowed on a green hillock. Nah, I'm not that good. No, not that good yet, Mr. Third. Also, I just enjoy having my time with you guys and just relaxing. It's the time of the day where we hey, Earthling, I see you. Yeah, soothing. The last one you wrote is correct. Well, it's yeah, 100%. I really love to be scared by Mr. Thard throwing things at me. It's almost like a hobby of Mr. Thard to throw things at me. But yeah, at the moment it's either sniffles or me not breathing. So yeah, I think we take the sniffles. Oh, I wouldn't get annoyed by it. I would probably be scared, but I wouldn't get annoyed by it. I promise you that. Because I can also set a timer on how often people can do it. So, but I think I would manage. Yeah, it's because something in my sinuses is too big. So I have a hard time breathing. Oh, hi Sika. Hi. I checked it and it's shit. No worries, I will fix it, everything. Everything. If I do 5 jumping jacks, I end stream. So, would you rather have the 5 jumping jacks or me ending stream? Or me continuing stream, is what I should say. Okay, good. By the way, if somebody wrote me something, I can't see it because I had to refresh. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah. Then let's keep doing that. Away, high in the east swung Rimirath, the netted stars, and slowly above the mist red Borgil rose, glowing like a jewel of fire. Then by some shifts of airs, all the mist was drawn away like a veil, and there leaned up, as he climbed over the rim of the world, the swordsman of the sky, Menelvagor, with his shining belt. The elves all burst into song. Suddenly under the trees a fire sprang up with a red light. "Come!" the elves called to the hobbits. "Come! Now is the time for speech and merriment." Pippin sat up and rubbed his eyes. He shivered. "There is a fire in the hall, and food for hungry guests," said an elf standing before him. At the south end of the greensward there was an opening. There the green floor ran into the wood, and formed a wide space like a hall, roofed by the boughs of the trees. Their great trunks ran like pillars down each side. In the middle there was a wood fire blazing, and upon the three pillars torches with lights of gold and silver were burning steadily. The elves sat round the fire upon the grass or upon the sawn rings of old trunks. Some went to and fro bearing cups and pouring drinks. Others brought food on heaped plates and dishes. "This is poor far," they said to the hobbits, "for we are lodging in the greenwood far from our halls. If you ever are our guest at home, we will treat you better." "It seems to me good enough for a birthday party," said Frodo. Pippin afterwards recalled little of either food or drink, for his mind was filled with the light upon the elves' faces, and the sound of voices so various and so beautiful that he felt in a waking dream. But he remembered that there was bread, surpassing the savor of a fair white loaf to one who is starving, and fruit sweet as wild berries, and richer than the tended fruits of gardens. He drained a cup that was filled with a fragrant draught, cool as a clear fountain, golden as a summer afternoon. Sam could never describe in words, nor picture clearly to himself what he felt or thought that night, though it remained in his memory as one of the chief events of his life. The nearest he ever got was to say, "Well, sir, if I could grow apples like that, I would call myself a gardener." But it was the singing that went to my heart, if you know what I mean. Frodo sat, eating, drinking, and talking with delight, but his mind was chiefly on the words spoken. He knew a little of the elf speech, and listened eagerly. Now and again he spoke to those that served him, and thanked them in their own language. They smiled at him, and said laughing, "Here is a jewel among hobbits." After a while, Pippin fell fast asleep and was lifted up and borne away to a bower under the trees. There he was laid upon a soft bed and slept the rest of the night away. Sam refused to leave his master. When Pippin had gone, he came and sat curled up at Frodo's feet, where at last he nodded and closed his eyes. Frodo remained long awake, talking with Gilder. They spoke of many things, old and new, and Frodo questioned Gilder much about happenings in the wide world outside the Shire. The tidings were mostly sad and ominous. of gathering darkness, the wars of men, and the flight of the elves. At last Frodo asked a question that was nearest to his heart. Tell me, Gilder, have you ever seen Bilbo since he left us? Gilder smiled. Yes, he answered, twice. He said farewell to us on this very spot, but I saw him once again, far from here. He would say no more about Bilbo, and Frodo fell silent. You do not ask me, or tell me much that concerns yourself, Frodo, said Gilder, but I already know a little, and I can read more in your face and in the thought behind your questions. You are leaving the Shire, and yet you doubt that you will find what you seek, or accomplish what you intend, or that you will ever return. Is not that so? It is, said Frodo, but I thought my going was a secret known only to Gandalf and my faithful Sam. He looked down at Sam, who was snoring gently. The secret will not reach the enemy from us, said Gilder. The enemy, said Frodo. Then you know why I am leaving the Shire. I do not know for what reason the enemy is pursuing you, answered Gilder, but I perceive that he is. Strange indeed, though that seems to me. And I warn you that peril is now both before you and behind you, and upon either side. You mean the riders? I feared that they were servants of the enemy. What are the Black Riders? Has Gandalf told you nothing? Nothing about such creatures. Then I think it's not for me to say more, lest terror should keep you from your journey. For it seems to me that you have set out only just in time, if indeed you are in time. You must now make haste, and neither stay nor turn back, for the Shire is no longer any protection to you. I cannot imagine what information could be more terrifying than your hints and warnings, exclaimed Frodo. I knew that danger lay ahead, of course, but I did not expect to meet it in our own Shire. Can't a hobbit walk from the water to the river in peace? But it is not your own Shire, said Gilder. Others dwelt here before hobbits were, and others will dwell here again when hobbits are no more. The wide world is all about you. You can fence yourself in, but you cannot forever fence it out. I know, and yet it has always seemed so safe and familiar. What can I do now? My plan was to leave the Shire secretly and make my way to Rivendell. But now my footsteps are dogged before I even got to Buckland. Spoons. The spoons, Mr. Dartmouth. The spoons. They have only left them spoons. I think you should still follow that plan, said Gildor. I do not think the road will prove too hard for your courage. But if you desire clearer counsel, you should ask Gandalf. I do not know the reasons for your flight, and therefore I do not know by what means your pursuers will assail you. These things Gandalf must know. I suppose that you will see him before you leave the Shire? I hope so, but that is another thing that makes me anxious. I have been expecting Gandalf for many days. He was to have come to Hobbiton at the latest 2 nights ago, but he has never appeared. Now I am wondering what can have happened. Should I wait for him? Gildor was silent for a moment. I do not like this news, he said at last. That Gandalf should be late does not bode well. But it is said, do not meddle in the affairs of a wizard, for they are subtle and quick to anger. The choice is yours to go or wait. And it is also said, answered Frodo, go not to the elves for counsel. They will say both no and yes. Is it indeed? Laughed Gildor. Elves seldom give unguarded advice, for advice is a dangerous gift, even from the wise to the wise, and all courses may run ill. But what would you? You have not told me all concerning yourself, and how then shall I choose better than you? But if you demand advice, I will go for friendship's sake. I will friendship's sake give it. I think you should now go at once, without delay, and if Gandalf does not come before you set out, then I advise this, do not go alone. Take such friends as are trusty and willing. Now you should be grateful, for I do not give this counsel gladly. The elves have their own labors and their own sorrows, and they are a little concerned with the ways of hobbits, of any other creatures upon earth. Our paths cross as seldom, by chance or purpose. In this meeting, there may be more than chance, but the purpose is not clear to me, and I fear to say too much. I am deeply grateful, said Frodo, but I wish you could tell me plainly what the Black Riders are. If I take your advice, I may not see Gandalf for a long while, and I ought to know what is the danger that pursues me. Is it not to know that they are servants of the enemy? Answered Gildor. Flee them, speak no words to them, they are deadly. Ask no more of me, but my heart forbodes that, ere all is ended, you, Frodo, son of Drogo, will know more of these fell things than Gildor in Glorion. May Elbereth protect you. But where shall I find courage? Asked Frodo. That is what I chiefly need. Courage is found in unlikely places, said Gildor. Be of good hope. Sleep now. In the morning we shall have gone, but we'll send our messages through the lands. The wandering companies shall know of our journey, and those that have powers for good shall be on the watch. I name you, Elfriend, and may the stars shine upon the end of your road. Seldom have we had such delight in strangers, and it is fair no, fair to hear words of the ancient speech from the lips of other wanderers in the world. Frodo felt sleep coming upon him, even as Gildor finished speaking. "I will sleep now," he said, and the elf led him to a bower beside Pippin, and he threw himself upon a bed and fell at once into a dreamless slumber. So that was the end of chapter 3. We'll take a short break to get something to drink, a little bit to stretch. And then I will be back in approximately 5 minutes. Yeah, sometimes slumber is nice. I see you. Ooh. Yes, Angie Bun Bun. Yeah, I can scare you as well. But I bent the book a little. Sad. Come on, Mr. Thar, drop with us. Drop with us. Whee! Whee! Aw, none of us makes it. True. Bear, you have to wait until the little bush at the bottom is gone. Yeah, he's just rude, ain't he? Nom 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 nom. Oh. You can't do that. You have to wait, I think. You have to wait until the bush is gone. Now you can do a group drop. Because now it's gone. Here, let me... Oh, 45 seconds. You can't do that yet. Yeah, poop drop. Yes, exactly. Woohoo! Woohoo! Oh, that's so cute! Oh my god. That is so adorable. The little chair just flying down. Yeah, it was close. Haha, my petate. Muhaha. That was just one sad attempt. Wow. What a sad attempt. If that Bonbon tries to dig tunnels with that kind of effort, we will be done when it has been like 7 of its lifetimes. Chapter 4. A shortcut to mushrooms. In the morning, Frodo woke refreshed. He was lying in a bower made by a living tree with branches laced and drooping to the ground. His bed was of fern and grass, deep and soft and strangely fragrant. The sun was shining through the fluttering leaves, which were still green upon the tree. He jumped up and went out. Sam was sitting on the grass near the edge of the wood. Pippin was standing studying the sky and weather. There was no sign of elves. They have left us fruit and drink and bread, said Pippin. Come and have your breakfast. The bread tastes almost as good as it did last night. I did not want to leave you any, but Sam insisted. To walk to Bucklebury as quickly as possible, answered Frodo, and gave his attention to the food. Do you think we shall see anything of those riders? Asked Pippin cheerfully. Under the morning sun, the prospect of seeing a whole troop of them did not seem very alarming to him. Yes, probably, said Frodo, not liking the reminder. But I hope to get us across the river without their seeing us. That was a weird sentence. Did you find out anything about them from Gildor? Not much. Only hints and riddles, said Frodo evasively. Nico! Thank you! Thank you for the Prime! I really appreciate that. No, they didn't. They didn't throw a Prime bottle at me. Only you would do that, Mr. Thorpe. Come on, everyone, let's strap together. See, Nico has a first. As far as I remember, there's 8 thirst batches left. Whee! And in comes Earthling and destroys everything. Oh, and Cher gets a little bit of help. Is it enough? Is it enough? Oh, sad. It wasn't enough. That was a big jump. Thank you for that, people. Jazzy, when a group drop have been activated, you have to wait for it to disappear again. So when the bush is gone, you can do a drop. Did you find out anything about them from Gildor? Not much, only hints and riddles, said Frodo evasively. Did you ask about the sniffing? We didn't discuss it, said Frodo with his mouth full. You should have. I'm sure it is very important. In that case, I am sure Gildor would have refused to explain it, said Frodo sharply. And now leave me in peace for a bit. See, Nico has his own emotes. Nico is on the Bun Bun team. I don't want to answer a string of questions while I'm eating. I want to think. Good heavens, said Pippin. At breakfast? He walked away towards the edge of the green. From Frodo's mind, the bright morning, treacherously bright, he thought, had not banished the fear of pursuit. And he pondered the words of Gildor. The merry voice of Pippin came to him. He was running on the green turf and singing. No, I could not, he said to himself. It is one thing to take my young friends walking over the Shire with me. Until we are hungry and weary, and food and bed are sweet. To take them into exile, where hunger and weariness may have no cure, is quite another, even if they are willing to come. The inheritance is mine alone. I don't think I ought even take Sam. He looked at Sam Gamgee and discovered that Sam was watching him. There. Hi, Oregon. Thank you for the hydrate. I'm gonna try to drink my tea now. How was the football match, Oregon? If we were alive to see it. Well, Sam, he said, what about it? I'm leaving the Shire as soon as I ever can. In fact, I have made up my mind now, not even to wait a day at Crickhollow, if it can be helped. Very good, sir. You still mean to come with me? I do. It is going to be very dangerous, Sam. It is already dangerous. Most likely neither of us will come back. If you don't come back, sir, then I shan't. That's certain, said Sam. Don't you leave him, they said to me. Leave him? I said, I never mean to. I'm going with him if he climbs to the moon, and if any of those black riders try to stop him, they will have Sam Gamgee to reckon with, I said. They laughed. Who are they, and what are you talking about? The elves, sir. We had some talk last night, and they seemed to know you were going away, so I didn't see the use of denying it. Wonderful folk, elves, sir. Come on, somebody, take the potate. Take the potate. They are, said Frodo. Do you like them still, now you have had a closer view? They seem a bit above my likes and dislikes, so to speak, answered Sam slowly. It don't seem to matter what I think about them. They're quite different from what I expected. So old and young. And so gay and sad, as it were. When was this book written? No, this version is from 2004, but it's based on the one from, what the fuck was it? 1954. Because it had gay in it, and that was not something you saw people say in those years. Even in the early 2000s, people were hesitant to say it and saw it as a way to put people down. Frodo looked at Sam, rather startled, half expecting to see some outward sign of the odd change that seemed to have come over him. It did not sound like the voice of the old Sam Gamgee that he thought he knew, but it looked like the old Sam Gamgee sitting there, except that his face was unusually thoughtful. Yeah. Hay and carrots. That would be nice. That would be a nice dream. By the way, Mr. Throut, what color is your charging cable for your phone? Yeah, your charging cable for your phone. Do you feel any need to leave the Shire now? Now that your wish to see them has come true already, he asked. Yes, sir. I don't know how to say it, but after last night, I feel different. I seem to see ahead in a kind of way. I know we are going to take a very long road into darkness, but I know I can't turn back. It isn't to see the elves now, nor dragons, nor mountains, that I want. I don't rightly know what I want. But I have something to do before the end, and it all lies ahead, not in the Shire. I must see it through, sir, if you understand me. Oh, so you have white hay. Nom nom. Mine. I don't altogether, but I understand that Gandalf chose me a good companion. I am content. We will go together. Frodo finished his breakfast in silence. Then standing up, he looked over the land ahead and called Pippin. All ready to start, he said as Pippin ran up. We must get off. We must be getting off at once. We slept late, and there are a good many miles to go. You slept late, you mean, said Pippin. I was up long before, and we are only waiting for you to finish eating and thinking. I have finished both now, and I'm going to make for Buckleberry Ferry as quickly as possible. I'm not going out of the way, back to the road we left last night. I'm going to cut straight across the country from here. Then you are going to fly, said Pippin. You won't cut straight on foot anywhere in this country. We can cut straighter than the road anyway, answers Frodo. The ferry is east from Woodhall, but the hard road curves away to the left. You can see a bend of it away north, over there. It goes around the north end of the marsh, so as to strike the causeway from the bridge above Stock, but that is miles out of the way. We could save a quarter of the distance if we made a line for the ferry from where we stand. Shortcuts make long delays, argued Pippin. The country is rough around here, and there are bogs and all kinds of difficulties down in the marsh. I know the land in these parts, and if you're worrying about black riders, I can't see that it is any worse meeting them on the road than in a wood or a field. It is less easy to find people in the woods and fields, answered Frodo. And if you are supposed to be on the road, there is some chance you will be looked for on the road and not off it. All right, said Pippin. I will follow you into every bog and ditch. But it is hard. I had counted on passing the Golden Perch at Stock before sundown. The best beer in the East Farthing, or used to be. It is a long time since I tasted it. That settles it, said Frodo. Shortcuts make delays, but inns make longer ones. At all costs, we must keep you away from the Golden Perch. You want to see the Buckleberry before dark. What do you say, Sam? I will go along with you, Mr. Frodo, said Sam, in spite of private misgivings and a deep regret for the best beer in East Farthing. Then, if we are going to toil through bog and briar, let's go now, said Pippin. Oh, actually not that long. Oh, Jabra is helping Earthling to come down. Whee! Congrats, Earthling and Jer. Congrats. Take an Easter egg while you're there. Yeah, she helped you. She helped you. Oh god, yeah. See how long we have already gone. At this pace, I think we have like 20 weeks left of this book. Maybe a little bit more. That's actually pretty nice. Thank you for the flower, Bear. I appreciate that. It was already nearly as hot as it had been the day before, but the clouds were beginning to come up from the west. It looked likely to turn into rain. The hobbits scrambled down a steep green bank and plunged into the thick trees below. Their course had been chosen to leave Woodhall to the left, and to cut slanting through the woods that clustered along the eastern side of the hills, until they reached the flats beyond. Then they could make straight for the ferry over the country that was open, except for a few ditches and fences. Frodo reckoned they had 18 miles to go in a straight line. He soon found that the thicket was closer and more tangled than it had appeared. There were no paths in the undergrowth, and they did not get on very fast. When they had struggled to the bottom of the bank, they found a stream running down from the hills behind in a deeply dug bed with steep slippery sides overhung with brambles. Most inconveniently, it cut across the line they had chosen. They could not jump over it, nor indeed get across it at all without getting wet, scratched, and muddy. They halted, wondering what to do. "First check," said Pippin, smiling grimly. Sam Gamgee looked back. Through an opening in the trees, he caught a glimpse of the top of the green bank from which they had climbed down. "Look," he said, clutching Frodo by the arm. They all looked, and on the edge high above them they saw against the sky a horse standing. Beside it stooped a black figure. They at once gave up of any idea of going back. Frodo led the way and plunged quickly into the thick bushes beside the stream. "Phew," he said to Pippin. "We were both right. The shortcut has gone crooked already, but we got under cover only just in time." "You got sharp ears, Sam. Can you hear anything coming?" "A whore?" Why do we have whores in here? So you say the Black Riders ride horse and not horses? Interesting idea, Mr. Thard. Interesting idea. The triple FX of Mordor. I have, Chapper. I have. Yeah. Yeah. They stood still, almost holding their breath as they listened. But there was no sound of pursuit. I don't fancy he would try bringing his horse down that bank, said Sam. But I guess he knows we came down it. We had better be going on. Mel! Hi! Hi, Mel! Ah! Going on was not altogether easy. They had packs to carry, and the bushes and brambles were reluctant to let them through. But they were cut off from the wind by the ridge behind, and the air was still and stuffy. Stuffy. When they forced their way at last into more open grounds. They were hot and tired and very scratched, and they were also no longer certain of the direction in which they were going. The banks of the stream sank, and she reached the levels and became broader and shallower, wandering off towards the marge of the river. Why this is the Stockbrook, said Pippin. If we are going to try and get back to our course, we must cross at once and bear right. They waded the stream and hurried over a wide open space, brush grown and trees on the further side. Beyond that they came again to a belt of trees, tall oaks for most part, with here and there an elm tree or an ash. The ground was fairly level, and there was little undergrowth, but the trees were too close for them to see far ahead. The leaves blew upwards in sudden gusts of wind, and spots of rain began to fall from the overcast sky. Then the wind died away, and the rain came streaming down. They trudged along as fast as they could, over patches of grass and through thick drifts of old leaves. And all about them the rain pattered and trickled. They did not talk, but kept glancing back and from side to side. After half an hour, Pippin said, I hope we have not turned too much towards the south, and are not walking long ways through the woods. It is not a very broad belt. It should have said no more than a mile at the widest, and we ought to have been through it by now. It is no good our starting to go in zigzags, said Frodo. That won't mend matters. Let's keep on as we are going. I'm not sure that I want to come out into the open yet. They went on for perhaps another couple of miles. Then the sun gleamed out of ragged clouds again, and the rain lessened. It was now past midday, and they felt it was high time for lunch. They halted under an elm tree. Its leaves, though fast turning yellow, were still thick, and the ground at his feet was fairly dry and sheltered. When they came to make their meal, they found that the elves had filled their bottles with clear drink, pale golden in color. It had the scent of a honey made of many flowers, and was wonderfully refreshing. Very soon they were laughing and snapping their fingers at the rain and at black riders. The last few miles they felt would be soon behind them. Frodo propped his back against the tree trunk and closed his eyes. Sam and Pippin sat near, and they began to hum and then to sing softly. Ho, 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 to the bottle I go, to heal my heart and drown my woe. Rain may fall and wind may blow, and many miles be still to go. Under a tall tree I will lie, and let the clouds go sailing by. Ho, 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 they began again louder. They stopped short suddenly. Frodo sprang to his feet. A long-drawn wail came down the wind, like the cry of some evil and lonely creature. It rose and fell, and ended on a high, piercing note, even as they sat and stood, as if suddenly frozen. It was answered by another cry, fainter and further off, but no less chilling to the blood. Then there was then a silence, broken only by the sound of the wind in the leaves. And what do you think that was? Pippin asked at last, trying to speak lightly, but quivering a little. If that was a bird, it was one that I never had heard in the Shire before. It was not a bird, or beast, said Frodo. It was a call, or a signal. There were words in that cry, though I could not catch them, but no hobbit has such a voice. No more was said about it. They were all thinking of the riders, but no one spoke of them. They were now reluctant either to stay or go on, but sooner or later they had to go to get across the open country to the ferry. But it was best to go sooner and in daylight. In a few moments they had shouldered their packs again and were off. Before long, the wood came to a sudden end. White grasslands stretched before them. They now saw that they had in fact turned too much to the south. Away over the flats, they could glimpse the low hill of Buckleberry across the river. But it was now to their left. Creeping cautiously out from the edges of the trees, they set off across the open as quickly as they could. At first, they felt afraid, away from the shelter of the wood. Far back behind them stood the high place where they had breakfasted. Frodo half expected to see the small, distant figure of a horseman on the ridge, dark against the sky. But there was no sign of one. The sun escaping from the breaking clouds, as it sank towards the hill they had left, was now shining brightly again. Their fear left them, though they still felt uneasy. But the land became steadily more tame and well ordered. Soon they came into the well-tended fields and meadows. There were hedges and gates and dikes for drainage. Everything seemed quiet and peaceful, just an ordinary corner of the Shire. Their spirits rose with every step. The line of the river grew nearer, and the black riders began to seem like phantoms of the woods now left far behind. They passed along the edge of a huge turnip field and came to a stout gate. Beyond it a rutted lane ran between low, well-laid hedges towards a distant clump of trees. Pippin stopped. "I know this field and this gate," he said. This is Ben Furlong, old Farmer Maggot's land. That's his farm away there in the trees. One trouble after another, said Frodo, looking nearly as much alarmed as if Pippin had declared the lane was the slot leading to a dragon's den. The others looked at him in surprise. What's wrong with old Maggot? Asked Pippin. He's a good friend to all the Brandybugs. Of course he's a terror to trespassers, and keeps ferocious dogs, but after all, folk down here are near the border, and have to be more on their guard. I know, said Frodo, but all the same, he added a shamefaced laugh, I'm terrified of him and his dogs. I have avoided his farm for years and years. He caught me several times trespassing after mushrooms when I was younger at Brandy Hall. On the last occasion, he beat me, and then took me and showed me to his dogs. See, lads, he said, next time this young varmint sets foot on my land, you can eat him. Now see him off. They chased me all the way to the ferry. I have never got over that fright. Though I dare say the beast knew their business and would not really have touched me. Pippin laughed. Well, it's time you made it up. Especially if you are coming back to live in Buckland. Old Maggot is a really stout fellow, if he leaves his mushrooms alone. Let's get into the lane, and then we shan't be trespassing. If we meet him, I'll do the talking. He's a friend of Mary's, and I used to come here with him a good deal at one time. They went along the lane. Woo! Woo! Somebody grab the patate! They went along the lane until they saw the thatch roofs of a large house and farm buildings peeping out among the trees ahead. And Jazzy comes on the inside and take the patate. The maggots and the puddyfoots of stock and most of the inhabitants of the marriage were house dwellers. And this farm was stoutly built of brick and had high wall around it. There was a wide wooden gate opening out of the wall into the lane. Suddenly, as they drew nearer, a terrific baying and barking broke out, and a loud voice was heard shouting, Grip, Fang, Wolf, come on, lads. Frodo and Sam stopped dead, but Pippin walked on for a few paces. The gate opened, and 3 huge dogs come pelting out into the lane, and then dashed towards the travelers, barking fiercely. They took no notice of Pippin, but Sam shrank against the wall, while 2 wolvish-looking dogs sniffed at him suspiciously, and snarled if he moved. The largest and most ferocious of the 3 halted in front of Frodo, bristling and growling. Have a nice dinner, Jabber. Have a nice dinner. Through the gate, there now appeared a broad, thick-set hobbit with a round red face. Hello, hello, and who may you be? And what may you be wanting? He asked. Good afternoon, Mr. Maggot, said Pippin. The farmer looked at him closely. Well, if it isn't Master Pippin, Mr. Peregrine Took, I should say, he cried, changing from scowl to grin. It is a long time since I saw you round here. It's lucky for you that I know you. I was just going out to set my dogs on any strangers. But there are some funny things going on today. Of course, We do get queer people wandering in these parts of times. Too near the river, he said, shaking his head. But this fellow was the most outlandish I have ever set eyes on. He won't cross my land without leave a second time. Not if I can stop it. What fellow do you mean? Asked Pippin. Then you haven't seen him, said the farmer. He went up the lane towards the causeway not long while back. He was a funny customer and asking funny questions. But perhaps you'll come along inside and we'll pass the news more comfortable. I've a drop of good ale on tap, if you and your friends are willing, Mr. Took. It seemed plain that the farmer would tell them more if we allowed to do it in his own time and fashion. So they all accepted the invitations. What about the dogs? Asked Mr. Frodo anxiously. The farmer laughed. They won't harm you, not unless I tell them to. Here, Grip, Fang, and Heel, he cried. Heel, Wolf. To the relief of Frodo and Sam, the dogs walked away and let them go free. Pippin introduced the other two to the farmers. Mr. Frodo Baggins, he said. You may not remember him, but he used to live in Brandy Hall. At the name Baggins, the farmer started and gave Frodo a sharp glance. For a moment Frodo thought that the memory of stolen mushroom had been aroused, and that the dogs would be told to see him off. But Farmer Maggot took him by the arm. Well, if that isn't queerer than ever, he explained. Mr. Baggins it is. Come inside, we must have a talk. They went into the farmer's kitchen and sat by the wide fireplace. Mrs. Maggot brought out beer in a huge jug and filled 4 large mugs. It was a good brew, and Pippin found himself more than compensated for missing the golden perch. Sam sipped his beer suspiciously. He had a natural mistrust of the inhabitants of other parts of the Shire. And also he was not disposed to be quick friends with anyone who had beaten his master, however long ago. After a few remarks about the weather and the agricultural prospect, which were no worse than usual, Farmer Maggot put down his mug and looked at them all in turn. Now, Mr. Peregrine, he said, where might you be coming from, and where might you be going to? Were you coming to visit me? For if so, you had gone past my gate without my seeing you. Well, no, answered Pippin. To tell you the truth, since you have guessed it, we got into the lane from the other end. We had come over your fields, but that was quite by accident. We lost our way in the woods back near Woodhall, trying to take a shortcut to the ferry. If you were in a hurry, the road would have served you better, said the farmer. But he wasn't worrying about that. You have leave to walk over my land if you have mind, Mr. Peregrine. And you, Mr. Baggins, though I dare say you still like mushrooms, he laughed. Ah, yes, I recognize the name. I recollect the time when young Frodo Baggins was one of the worst young rascals of Buckland. But it wasn't mushrooms I was thinking of. I had just heard the name Baggins before you turned up. What do you think that funny customer asked me? They waited anxiously for him to go on. Well, the farmer continued, approaching his point with slow relish. He came riding on a big black horse in at the gate, which happened to be open, and right up to my door. All black he was himself, too, and cloaked up and hooded up, as if he did not want to be known. Now what in the Shire can't he want? I thought to myself, we don't see many of the big folk over the border, And anyway, I have never heard of anything like this black fellow. Good day to you, I say, going out to him. This lane don't lead anywhere, and wherever you might be going, your quickest way will be back to the road. I didn't like the looks of him, and when Grip came out, he took a sniff and let out a yelp as if he had been stung. He put his tail and bolted off howling. The black fellow sat quite still. I come from yonder, he said, slow and stiff like, pointing black west. Over my fields, if you please. Have you seen Baggins? He asked in a queer voice, and bent down towards me. I could not see the face, for his hood fell down so low, and I felt a sort of shiver down my back. But I did not see why he should come riding over my land so bold. Be off, I said. There are no Bagginses here. You are in the wrong part of the Shire. You had to go back west to Hobbiton, but you can go by the road this time. Baggins has left, he answered in a whisper. He is coming. He is not far away. I wish to find him. If he passes, will you tell me? I will come back with gold. No, you won't, I said. You will go back where you belong, double quick. I'll give you 1 minute before I call all my dogs. She gave a sort of a hiss. It might have been laughing, and it might not. Then he spurred on his great horse right at me, and I jumped out of the way only just in time. I called the dogs, but he swung off and drove through the great gate and up the lane towards the causeway like a bolt of thunder. What do you think that was of that? Frodo sat for a moment looking at the fire, but his only thought was how on earth would they reach the ferry. I don't know what to think, he said at last. Then I tell you what to think, said Maggot. You should never have gone mixing yourself up with Hobbiton folk, Mr. Frodo. Folk are queer up there. Sam stirred in his chair and looked at the farmer with an unfriendly eye. But you were always a reckless lad. When I heard you had left Brandybox and gone off to that old Mr. Bilbo, I said you were going to find trouble. Mark my words, this all comes of those strange doings of Mr. Bilbo's. His money was got in some strange fashion in foreign parts, they say. Maybe there is some that want to know what has become of the gold and jewels that he buried in the hill of Hobbiton, as I hear. So how many pages do we have left? So we have 4 pages left, and we will finish those pages in this today. So we will end the chapter for next week. Frodo said nothing. The shrewd guesses of the farmer was rather disconcerting. Well, Mr. Frodo, Maggot went on, I'm glad that you have had the sense to come back to Buckland. My advice is, stay there. And don't get mixed up with these outlandish folk. You will have friends in these parts. If any of these black fellows come after you again, I'll deal with them. I'll say you're dead or have left the Shire, or anything you like. And that might be true enough, for as like as not is it is old Mr. Bilbo they want news of. Maybe you're right, said Frodo, avoiding the farmer's eyes and staring at the fire. Maggot looked at him thoughtfully. Well, I see you have ideas of your own, he said. It is as plain as my nose that no accident brought you and that rider here on the same afternoon. And maybe my news was no great news to you, after all. I'm not asking you to tell me anything you have a mind to keep to yourself. But I see you are in some kind of trouble. Perhaps you are thinking it won't be too easy to get to the ferry without being caught. I was thinking so, said Frodo. But we have got to try and get there, and it won't be done by sitting and thinking. So I'm afraid we must be going. Thank you very much indeed for your kindness. I've been in terror of you and your dogs for over 30 years. Farmer Maggot. Though you may laugh to hear it, it's a pity, for I have missed a good friend. And now I am sorry to leave so soon. But I'll come back, perhaps one day if I get a chance. You'll be welcome when you come, said Maggot. But now I've a notion. It's near sundown already, and we are going to have our supper. For we mostly go to bed after the sun. If you and Mr. Peregrine and all could stay and have a bite with us, we would be so pleased. And so should we, said Frodo. But we must be going at once, I'm afraid. Even now it will be dark before we can reach the ferry. Ah, but wait a minute. I was going to say, after a bit of supper, I get out a small wagon, and I'll drive you all to the ferry. That will save you a good step. And it might also save you the trouble of another sort. Frodo now accepted the invitation gratefully, to the relief of Pippin and Sam. The sun was already behind the western hills, and the lights were failing. 2 of Maggot's sons and his 3 daughters came in, and a generous supper was laid on the large table. The kitchen was lit with candles, and the fire was mended. Mrs. Maggot bustled in and out. 1 or 2 other hobbits belonging to the farm household came in. In a short while 14 sat down to eat. There was beer in plenty, a mighty dish of mushrooms and bacon, besides much other solid farmhouse fare. The dogs lay by the fire, and gnawed rinds and cracked bones. When they had finished, the farmer and his sons went out. Went out with a lantern and got the wagon ready. It was dark in the yard when the guests came out. Yeah, unfortunately you can't get second supper. That's so sad. They threw the packs on the board and climbed in. The farmer sat in the driving seat and whipped up his 2 stout ponies. His wife stood in the light of the open door. You be careful of yourself, Maggot, she called. Don't go arguing with any foreigners, and come straight back. I will, he said, and drove out the gate. There was now no breath of wind stirring. The night was still and quiet, and a chill was in the air. They went without lights, and took it slowly. After a mile or 2, the lane came to an end, crossing a deep dike, and climbing a short slope up onto the high bank causeway. Maggot got down and took a good look either way, north and south, but nothing could be seen in the darkness, and there was not a sound in the still air. Thin strands of river mist were hanging above the dikes and crawling over the fields. It's going to be thick, said Maggot, but I'll not light my lanterns until I turn for home. We'll hear anything on the road long before we meet it tonight. Thank you, Earthling. I'm just gonna read the last 2 pages and then we are ending. But thank you for reminding me. It was 5 miles or more from Maggot's Lane to the ferry. The hobbits wrapped themselves up, but their ears were strained for any sound above the creak of wheels and the slow clop of the ponies' hoofs. The wagon seemed slower than a snail to Frodo, Beside him, Pippin was nodding towards sleep, but Sam was staring forwards into the rising fog. They reached the entrance to the fairy lane at last. It was marked by 2 tall white posts that suddenly loomed up on their right. Farmer Maggot drew in his ponies and the wagon cracked to a halt. They were just beginning to scramble out when they suddenly heard what they have all been dreading: hooves on the road ahead. The sound was coming towards them. Maggot jumped down and stood holding the ponies' heads and peering forward into the gloom. Clip-clop, clip-clop came the approaching rider. The fall of the hooves sounded loud in the still foggy air. "You better be hidden, Mr. Frodo," said Sam anxiously. "You get down in the wagon and cover up with blankets, and we will send this rider to the rideabouts." He climbed out and went to the farmer's side. Black riders would have to ride over him to get near the wagon. Clop, 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 clop. The riders was nearly on them. "Hello there," called Farmer Maggot. The advancing hoofs stopped short. They thought they could dimly guess a dark cloaked shape in the mist a yard or 2 ahead. "Now then," said the farmer, throwing the reins to Sam and striding forward. "Don't you come a step nearer. What do you want, and where are you going?" "I want Mr. Baggins." "Have you seen him?" said a muffled voice. But the voice was the voice of Mary Brandybuck. And dark lantern was uncovered, and its light fell on the astonished face of the farmer. "Mr. Mary," he cried. "Yes, of course. Who did you think it was?" said Mary, coming forward. As he came out of the mist and the fears subsided, he seemed suddenly to diminish to ordinary hobbit size. "Aw, none of you landed. Satch." "Will anyone take that patate? Or should I just take it for you?" Miss Deathheart removed the space. There we go. And Miss Deathheart now got the patate. He was riding a pony, and a scarf was swathed around his neck and over his chin to keep out the fog. Frodo sprang out the wagon to greet him. "So there you are at least," said Merry. "I was beginning to wonder if you would turn up at all today, and I was just going back to supper. When it grew foggy, I came across and rode up to Woodstock to see if you have fallen in any ditches. But I'm blessed if I know which way you have come. Where did you find them, Mr. Maggot? In your dog pond?" "No, I caught them trespassing," said the farmer, "and nearly set all my dogs on them. But they'll tell you all the story, I have no doubt. Now, if you'll excuse me, Mr. Merry and Mr. Frodo and all, I'd best be turning for home. Mrs. Maggot will be worrying with the night getting thick." "Hi, Steph. Nice to see you in here." He backed the wagon into the lane and turned it. "Well, a good night to you all," he said. "It's been a queer day, and no mistake. But all's well as ends well. Though perhaps we should not say that until we reach our own doors. I'll not deny that. I'll be glad now when I do." He lit his lanterns and got up. Suddenly he produced a large large basket from under the seat. "I was nearly forgetting," he said. Mrs. Maggot put this up for Mr. Baggins with her compliments. He handed it down and moved off, followed by a chorus of thanks and good nights. They watched the pale rings of light round his lanterns as they dwindled into the foggy night. Suddenly Frodo laughed. From the covered basket he held, the scent of mushrooms was rising. And that all was the end of chapter 4, and will also be the end of the stream for today. So we will go and find somebody to raid. You are very welcome, Mr. Thard. Very welcome. Do any of you have some suggestion on where we should go today? I actually think I have one. So this will be all for today. And I hope you all will have a very good night and a very good week until I see you again. Next week we'll be back to the usual schedule. So Sunday at 7 p.m. GMT +1, so CET time for those which can't use GMT. And we will go here. And that's for the followers. And that's for the subscribers. And everyone, please take care of yourself and have a lovely week until I see you again next week. Bye bye.